You're now listening to the You Run podcast.
True crime. This podcast is unique. Heather, tell them why.
You choose the cases. You share your opinion. And I hit you with mine.
He got an easier death than he deserved.
Casey was the first Illinois prisoner executed against his will.
An eyewitness later described Bundy's last moments of life.
He made reference to his loved ones and to his family when he was saying his last words.
A serial killer comes about by circumstances and
This is the You Run podcast. This is the only true crime podcast where we put you in control. You become part of our team as me and Heather take you through the cases that you have chosen. This is not our show. This is your true crime.
That bitch is cray-cray. She's real crazy.
Hello, welcome to Extended Cut, the show where me and Heather...
Hey, guys. They know it's me. I ain't got to say my name. Fuck y'all. I mean, not fuck y'all. I'm sorry I didn't say that. Oh, my God. Take it back. Delete that out. That was Patricia.
There goes half our listeners.
Oh, whatever. Whatever.
And this month, Tasha.
Hello.
We go deeper into the case of our last case, covering topics that we didn't get to talk about in the last episode. This month's case was Chris Benoit, and honestly, you are about to get the most controversial episode we have ever aired. I am going to say things that's going to upset a lot of people, and I've already had some death threats. And let's be honest, fuck you guys. You don't like it. Let's
See, you just said it. You just said fuck you too. So I don't take my fuck you back. Right. I'm not. It's for you. Take it.
I think it's only fair now that we've both done it. Tasha, could you tell the listeners just to fuck off? That'd be good.
Fuck every single one of you.
There we go.
Oh my God. That's super aggressive.
And 100%, that is the clip I will be using to promote this episode.
Can't wait.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait.
Now, as I've said on the last episode, in the lead up to this, I received numerous threats about talking about conspiracy theories. Now, I understand this is not an old case. It's not something that happened 100 years ago. It's fairly recent. I appreciate people have strong feelings about this case, but I will not shut my mouth because you've told me to.
No.
And you all need to behave yourselves. This is a show investigating true crime. And we look at the facts, we look at the theories, and we also look at the conspiracy theories. And if that's not your cup of tea, then don't listen to this episode. Stop now. Switch it off.
Understood that.
This is.
If you don't like it, why are you listening?
This is our run podcast, and that's what we're doing. And these are our opinions, and you're going to respect them. Thank you.
We're going to dive into some of the more obscure things that happened around this case, and there are some really obscure, strange things. We're going to start with Wikipedia. So, 14 hours before the police had entered the Benoit home, Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page was updated to state the following. Chris Benoit was replaced by Johnny Nitro for the ECW World Championship match at Vengeance, as Benoit was not there due to personal issues stemming from the death of his wife, Nancy. This is 14 hours before.
Before anybody supposedly heard anything, correct?
This is before the police. This is before the wellness check. This is before anyone had been to the home.
Okay.
When police investigated the IP address that was linked to this account, because they did investigate this WikiLeak, it was linked to an address in Connecticut, which is where the WWE headquarters are located. Now, I know it's a big city, but that's a very strange coincidence. Did someone at WWE know what had happened before they requested the welfare check?
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, this is just my honest, opinion or my thoughts, actually. I'm not big into conspiracy theories. I think that it takes to another level of using my brain that I really don't want to. And to be honest, I'm just being honest here. I'm not saying that some fucked up weird shit didn't happen, because how the fuck do we ever know anything, right?
Yeah.
How do we know the details of any actual thing? Because we were not there on the scene, and I'm the type of person that I got to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Just like ghosts, paranormal stuff. If I hear something in my house, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm a little scared, but I ain't seen no ghost. I'm gonna keep on going to sleep. But that's just how I am. I'm more of a physical person. I need to smell it. I need to see it. You can't just. Oh, let me read. Wikipedia has been notorious for being incorrect from what I understand about stuff. So I don't know.
I get that Wikipedia is incorrect, but in this case, it was 100% correct and 14 hours before police got there. What's your thoughts on this, Tasha?
Yeah, Tasha, go girl.
It's a hell of a coincidence, man. I really struggled with that one because, I mean, there are people that like go in and change pages all the time and they do ridiculous stuff and people want to stir the pot and everything. So to me, it's not that much of a stretch to think that somebody would go in and put something ridiculous, something that they thought was ridiculous in there.
Yeah.
Especially because they said he'd always been like so reliable with all of his matches and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden he's
not showing up.
Championship.
Yeah, and it's something that officially the guy, they tracked the guy down. You can actually watch the footage of him being interviewed. The guy who posted the WikiLeaks, and he said it come from a conversation in a chat room on a WWE forum chat room where people were speculating why Chris Benoit wasn't there, and he said, he's probably killed his wife. And then from there, he went, I know what I'll do. I'll go and post that on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
That guy's got issues. If you watch the interview, he's got issues.
Yeah, something's wrong. I didn't get to see that or know about that, or I would have probably tried to watch it. But I don't know if it would have changed my mind a whole lot. But obviously, he sounds like a nutbag, right?
Yeah.
Just some person.
The thing with Wikipedia is anyone can update it. For example, after the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, someone updated Amber Heard's Wikipedia page, and it was changed from writer, producer, director, actress, man beater.
Yeah. That was a shitty thing. That was a shitty thing to do, wasn't it?
But that was like that for 24 hours. So anyone could go in and change Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's why I don't like the internets, the interwebs frighten me, because anybody can like get on there and put up anything that you want to. I guess if you have time.
If any of the listeners want to create a Wikipedia page for me and make up all the stupid shit you want, just go right ahead. Go right ahead. Go nuts, and I'll go on there and I'll verify it all as true.
But you need a pic. Did they put a picture in the Wikipedia, or did they put pictures? Yeah, I thought so. I don't get on Wikipedia. I don't check it. So.
If anyone's going to create a Wikipedia page, just DM me. I'll send you some pictures to use.
That's a tough one. Like I feel like on its own, just some guy going in and changing the page is not that much of a stretch. So I think it's just one hell of a horrible coincidence on that one.
Yeah.
I know. I'm leaning more towards that too.
Yeah. And he said when he found out, he was devastated and went back in and he removed it himself. So it wasn't taken down. He took it down when the news broke the following morning. He kind of went, that if it was a genuine coincidence, a genuine mistake, that morning when he got up and switched on his TV, he must have gone, oh, fuck.
I'm gonna shit myself, like straight up, like
yeah.
Holy God! Like I need to change my underwear at this point because the odds of that being the case are just that is pretty crazy. It really is.
So moving from Wikipedia, because we've discounted that's just a straight up coincidence. I think we're all pretty much agreed it's a very odd coincidence, but I think it is a coincidence.
Yeah.
Let's go on to text messages. So text was sent to some of Chris's friends after the after the autopsy had claimed he was dead. So after the autopsy said he died on this day, Chris's phone was still sending text messages after that. And his phone was never recovered. His phone was never found. So he was texting all over the weekend. His phone was never pulled from the house, ever. Still to this day, never found.
Well, that's just, I mean, that's odd, but I guess like if you're rational, you could think of like 9 million different reasons of why. I don't know that I can still just jump to the conspiracy side of things. It's like, is it shady police work? Like, what's going on? And would you call that conspiracy? I mean, cops they can be like that. I'm just saying. We have good cops, bad cops. So, like, that can happen.
Yeah. They never found a suicide note, which in a case like this, it was well documented by the lead investigator and by many, many other police forces after. In a case like this, 99.999% of the time, there is always a note to explain it. People don't do this and not explain themselves.
I don't know where they get that figure, but...
Didn't they say like later on they found a note in one of the Bibles that said like I'm preparing to leave this earth or something like that?
So after it was about 6 years after, they found in some of Chris's effects, they found a letter. It wasn't a suicide note as such, more of a diary entry where he was talking a lot about Eddie and saying that after what happened to Eddie, he's now gearing himself up to end up going the same way. So he's making preparations for that to be what will eventually happen.
Oh yeah, because he says he's like, I'll see you soon. Because in the documentary that I think we all three watched, that's when it was like his journal. And it was like, hey, see you soon. So that it could be implied that he was planning this. It was very premeditated in the sense of he knew that he was going to be deceased soon and he was going to wipe everybody out.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a scary thing to think about though, but
yeah. So the other one is the alcohol bottles, which I mentioned on the main show. So there was numerous beer bottles and I think there was a bottle of JD that was found, some other things that were all empty, which would insinuate that Chris was heavily drinking or that someone was heavily drinking. But all the tox screens come back complete. I mean, not like there's a little bit because alcohol stays on your tox screen for 3 weeks. They can still pick up. So on a tox screen, they can still pick up alcohol in your bloodstream that you've had 3 weeks prior. It's minute amounts, but it's still there. The tox screens were empty. There was no alcohol whatsoever, which begs this is where the conspiracy theory really ramps up for a lot of people because they're like, who was drinking? Why were there empties everywhere? Why was all of that alcohol there? Because if they kept a relatively tidy home, that wouldn't be there. Why was it there? And I think that's one thing that, for me, I can't work out why it's there either.
No, that's it. I don't know. When I watched the documentary, I remember them showing it was even like a partly empty wine bottle. Yeah. Which I'm not trying to make this shit funny, but like that wine bottle would have been empty as fuck if that was me drinking it. But I'm just saying, and like it was strange that there would be all these empty alcohol bottles or half empty, whatever. And then they're saying that they didn't find any traces of alcohol in the systems. So you're making my head hurt. I don't know, bro. I mean, this is where I'm starting to get like, why does everything have to go to a conspiracy theory? Like, why can't it just be that he had severe problems? His brain was basically fucking scrambled eggs at this point, and this is the honest truth. And why can't it just be an unfortunate case where he did not get help, he could not be helped, and this was inevitable that this was going to happen? Instead of everybody has to come up with some conspiracy shit.
You're not gonna like how this episode progresses.
I don't like it. I'm eating a gummy bear.
I'd like to know if they did like any kind of DNA testing on those containers to see like who actually may have drank them? 'Cause
No.
they just had the barbecue like the weekend before, right? Where other people were in the house.
They ain't do shit, Tasha. This because they want the fucking weirdos to be like, oh my god, aliens. They did it.
Aliens.
Because nobody can be rational. Nobody can just say, this is unfortunate. This is what happened. We got to blame it on something else.
So this leads me into, I've got two more bits to this conspiracy theory before I actually tell you what the conspiracy theory is in full.
Shit! I thought we were already in it.
No, not yet. So we've got, the next one is, why was Nancy, a 5'6" lady, hands and feet bound, when there is an incredibly strong, ripped professional wrestler? He would have had no need to tie her whatsoever.
Oh, God. Okay. I get where you're going with it. Because she's small, right? You would think he's going to overpower her.
Even if she was big. I mean, I'm not being funny. This guy can bench 500 pounds. This guy is an absolute tank.
His neck was as big as my ass. I saw it. I was like, Jesus. Like, being pregnant, my butt getting bigger. Big butt. But anyway, like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was more of a control thing, a control issue, right? To control. It doesn't have to be conspiracies. He's controlling, so maybe she wouldn't escape, right? She wouldn't fight back.
Yeah. Okay.
If it started out as like some kind of altercation between the two of them, that could have been his way of like just trying to subdue her, and
exactly,
whether he walked away and then came back or whatever. Like, we just don't.
Yeah,
we don't know. We don't know.
No, we don't. And the final part of this conspiracy surrounds CTE and the findings of the CTE results saying that he had CTE and that he had the Alzheimer's riddled brain of an 85-year-old man.
Yes.
Now, the argument for this is Chris Benoit was a professional wrestler. He was a businessman. He was a very, very organized man who didn't have a PA or assistant. He organized his own schedule for traveling the world 300 days a year. He ran two separate businesses. And he conducted multiple interviews, worked backstage, met fans, done meet and greets. He was never once late, never once confused, never once deemed as having an issue with memory or thought processes at work by his colleagues or by his friends. Was CTE used by the WWE as a way to cover and bury the fact that this was something else?
I mean, that's an actual that's like an actual medical condition.
Tests were ordered by WWE and done by WWE doctors for the brain scans. So I can see why this case is so open to people to pick it apart, because we don't know what happened, and there are so many things that don't add up. This is like a conspiracy theorist's dream. There is so much you could pick apart and pull to pieces. Tasha, before we actually go into what the other theory of what could have happened is, what's your take on it, on these things like the alcohol and being bound, and what's your take on the overall?
For that one, I'm definitely leaning in Heather's direction of like, some people, like when something like this happens and we don't get those answers, people look to every tiny little thing as, especially with somebody that they don't want to believe could be capable of something like that. They're going to look for every possible reason they can find as to why it wasn't them. And I didn't know fully in detail, like how much in terms of business and stuff like that he handled himself. Because I've kind of been leaning heavily into the CTE bandwagon. But it's tough too, because like my grandma's husband has dementia, and it's amazing that what's part of a routine sticks with them much longer. So, with normal day-to-day stuff, I can see where he would continue to function on a normal basis. Yeah. But once it gets into more complicated stuff, it's kind of hard to to sort out how he would be able to maintain all of that, unless he had somebody helping him and just nobody said anything, or maybe Nancy was helping him with that stuff.
Yeah, and there are. So I look, when I read that part of the conspiracy theory, I literally dived straight into CTE, and I dived into Alzheimer's, and I dived into what the capabilities of people are who suffer with those illnesses. Mm-hmm. There are people who are incredibly high functioning with the later stages of Alzheimer's. There are people with severe Alzheimer's who can still get up, do their daily routine, do everything they need to. And as long as Tasha says, as long as they don't need to break that routine, they will function perfectly. But if something happens in their day that fucks their routine, the whole world around them collapses because they've lost that rhythm of what they're doing. And then that's when they have an issue.
Yeah.
So I don't believe any of the conspiracy theories. I'm not going to lie. I think Chris Benoit was a family killer. He's someone who had severe mental illness, and that led him to kill his family. But I am going to tell you what the most common conspiracy theory is, and this is a full theory from start to finish.
Ready for this one.
So
God,
everything points to Kevin Sullivan. So Kevin Sullivan was Nancy's first husband. Yes. And the theory is that Kevin Sullivan and a professional hitman killed Chris Benoit and their family. Now, when Chris and Nancy started to get together, Kevin Sullivan made a lot of death threats to Chris and Nancy. Now, I'm going to say right from the off, if Lisa left me for someone I wrote a storyline for her to work with, I would make death threats too. I don't think that's uncommon. There's nothing strange in that. He's spoken vocally saying that obviously he wrote a storyline, and his words were, when you write a storyline for your wife to be in an affair with someone that you trusted, worked with and loved, you don't expect that to actually happen and her run off with effectively her co-star. Yeah. I'm fully with Kevin Sullivan on that. You don't. It's not what the goal was when he wrote that story.
No.
The tragedy that happened at the Benoit house happened on the 10th anniversary of Kevin and Nancy's divorce. There had also been a call that I deliberately didn't mention in the show. So Chris Benoit called Chavo. They had a long conversation, and in that conversation, Chris had to go to answer the door. When he answered the door, there was a scuffle, and Chavo heard a scuffle, heard lots of banging and thudding, and the phone went dead. It took Chavo 6 hours to get hold of Chris again. And when he got hold of Chris again, Chris said that he was fine and that he loved Chavo and he was not himself. He was very docile and dopey. This is a statement that's been repeated by WWE Talent Relations. When Chris rung them, he was not himself. He sounded groggy and tired. And he also ended the call to WWE Talent Relations with, "I love you," which no one tells their boss they love them. They just don't.
No, I hate it. I hated my bosses.
I'm not going to slag off my boss because I know he listens to the show. Hi.
No, we don't. Never.
So the theory is that Kevin Sullivan and maybe an accomplice or two accomplices forced their way into the Benoit home. They tied up Nancy. They made Benoit and Daniel watch Nancy be killed. They then made Benoit watch them kill Daniel. And then they killed Benoit, staging the scenes around the house and then arranging for the wiki posts as well. Thoughts?
I just can't imagine. I mean, I know, they played up like his satanic character and stuff like that in the show, Kevin Sullivan's, but I just cannot fathom 10 years after a divorce still being so invested in it that you're going to come back and kill your ex-wife, the dude she left you for and their 7-year-old son.
Yeah.
Like that is a whole new level of like patience and crazy. I don't. So I cannot. I mean,
no.
And him being the size that he was, Chris, like, I mean, even with Sullivan being a wrestler too, like, what are the odds that they're going to come in and be able to subdue this guy that easily? Like, he's going to fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
So
I think it's to subdue a big man or a woman or anyone, to subdue someone who is on their own is one thing. If someone attacked me in the street, I would probably be subdued fairly easily. If someone tried to get into my house where my wife and my kids are, the only way they're subduing me is by me not breathing anymore.
Yeah,
I would fight to the absolute end to stop that happening.
Yeah.
And I think the conspiracy theory is bullshit. And I think it is, and this is where I am going to upset people who believe this conspiracy theory. I think this is wrestling fans who loved and idolized Chris Benoit, who cannot wrap their head around that he would do this. So they created this conspiracy theory to make them feel better about still loving Chris Benoit.
Blame game. Yeah. You can't, just like Tasha was saying, why the fuck would, after so many years, was he waiting exactly until this specific year? That just rationally doesn't make any sense. It would make more sense had he, if he were to murder the family, he would have just murdered like Nancy and Chris, or just Nancy, because she's the one that like left him. It doesn't motive. It makes no sense. Rationally, doesn't make any sense. I think. Look, it sucked that what happened. Like they divorced, but like ain't nobody got time for that shit. I ain't waiting 10 years to kill somebody. Like what?
I know.
The fuck?
Like
I will forget the next week.
Waiting 10 years.
Like no. It's just,
and I mean, I definitely accept where like it would be hard for them to kind of merge like being a fan with not understanding what he did and everything, because so many of the wrestlers interviewed in that documentary are like, we love this dude and we admired him and everything else, but we can't come to terms with what he did. Yeah. So, I mean, if the people who are closest to him have a hard time with that, like obviously fans out there, fanatic or not, that's a hard line for, I don't even watch him, and I'm struggling with this because so many people have so many good things to say about him. Like, it's hard to remedy like the feelings about what happened.
And anyone who didn't watch wrestling at that time and doesn't watch wrestling, I need to emphasize how big a star he was when this happened. He was as big as you can get in wrestling. He was Hulk Hogan level famous for his generation. He was incredibly gifted. He was a gifted wrestler, a brilliant entertainer, and put on some of the best wrestling matches in history. He was well loved and revered by everyone he worked with. He had no enemies at work. Everyone thought he was great. He was great to work with. He worked hard. He put on great matches. He made lots of friends. And for that to then turn into what it did, I fully understand why everyone struggles with this. I understand. This would be like tomorrow, The Rock done this to his kids and his wife. That is the level this is at. And that would be, again, there would be so many people who go, no, I don't believe it.
Well, there'd be conspiracy theories flying out of everybody's ass. I mean, just the same with think about this. We've done the true crime so far. We're up to this many, cases so far. There's conspiracy theories with every fucking case, even 100 years ago.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers love to stir the pot. Y'all love it. Y'all can't just accept shit for how it is, and that people are garbage. And sometimes people have such mental health issues. And then sometimes people just do shit without explanation. Just get it through your head. Sometimes you just don't know, and you never will.
Which
Thank you.
I'm going to leave the conspiracy theories there because Heather's going to blow a gasket, and because there's other stuff I want to talk about. The other thing I want to talk about is David Benoit. So David Benoit is going to get a lot of attention from me now. He's made a lot of noise recently, and I'm going to voice some of my opinions, and I'm going to upset the wrestling world and stuff. So David Benoit is a professional wrestler. He's the son of Chris and his first wife. And he wants to be a big name in the industry, but feels that he is being held back.
Yeah.
So he wants to wrestle. And great. I think that's wonderful. Where I start having issues is he wants to wrestle under the name Chris Benoit Jr., because that's his middle name. And he wants to wear the same wrestling attire as his father. Now, I asked the listeners what they thought about this, and 70% of them think he should be allowed to do that as a legacy and a tribute to his father. Tasha, I'm going to let you take that first.
Whew, that's oh man. I don't even know where to start on that one. Like it's tough because seeing how he reacted to everything again in that documentary, like, you know, he said he was nothing but an amazing dad like his whole life, and probably just like, you know, it's hard for everybody else to try to merge, you know, how they feel about what he did and how he was as a human. Like, man, that's so hard.
That's what she said.
Like,
yeah. Do you think he should be able to use the name? Because obviously it's his name as well. So his name is David Chris Benoit.
Well, it's his middle name now. Come on.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, there could be a wrestler named Ted Bundy, and I mean, that's his name, and it is what it is. I mean, what are you going to do about somebody's name?
I think for me, the issue I have is the name doesn't bother me. Chris Benoit Jr., fine. I don't have a massive issue with that because, fine. It's your name. You want to use it, use it. I don't have an issue with that. My issue lies with wanting to wear the same wrestling attire. And I know for a fact, having watched some of these guys' matches, he is a carbon copy of his father's wrestling style.
He looks just like his dad, too.
Yeah, and he uses...
identical.
And he uses the same moves, minus the diving headbutt. That's the only thing he doesn't do the same. He still uses the crippler crossface. He still uses the triple German suplexes. And I don't think you can do that. I just don't. I think it's wrong. I think it's drawing attention to something that should not have attention drawn to it. There should be talks about CTE and the damage it done to Chris, and that should be openly spoken about in the wrestling world. And Chris Benoit's name should be mentioned on television to explain how bad these injuries can get. But at no point should you come back and glorify him by wearing his attire and doing the same moves. It's wrong.
I think it would not be in his success either to do that. Like, I think if people are that upset, they're not going, who's really going to be that supportive of that? Especially your conspiracy side, right? That are like totally against any rational reasons why Chris committed these crimes. I'm just saying, I don't think that his son needs to do that. First of all, I get it. Yeah, whatever. That's his middle name, but that's not who he is. He is his own person, and his father is gone now. So if you want to pay a tribute to your father, you can do it in a different way. You can do wrestling. You can be a wrestler, but you need to have your own style, and you can pay tribute in a different way. But I just feel like it's a little like tasteless to just do that because you're going to stir that fucking pot up and cause a lot of drama.
The thing is, though, in honesty, someone will sign him. Someone will let him do this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the reason they will do that is because it will generate attention and it will make bucket loads of money. If they give him a character where he is a bad guy and he rides the bad guy wave where all the fans boo him and everyone hates him, They will make an absolute fortune, and I think it's wrong, and I hope that no wrestling promotion allows it to happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, I don't know. It's been so long ago, right? Like, is this still something currently that he's trying to pursue?
Yeah, he's been interviewed recently, and still.
How old would he be now in 2022?
He's in his 30s, I think.
Late 30s, I would think.
Think so.
Right? Yeah. I just don't agree with it. I just feel like, I mean, that's your dad, and I get that. And nobody's ever going to feel the way that he feels about Chris. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is going to convince David that his dad was a monster or anything like that. Like, that's not going to happen.
No.
So, and I think he was affected by this in a severe way as well, because watching the documentary, I mean, like, he could barely keep his shit together for most of it, which I understand. Like, regardless, that was your dad. I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't do it. I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable in that situation.
I feel like the WWE kind of like created the potential for this to happen by just blacklisting that name. Like how they talk about how, you know, even Nancy like doesn't get credit for the things that she did because just the second you hear that name, everybody just shuts down.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You know, by doing that, like they've created this opening for somebody to come in and, you know, whether it's him or I mean, most likely him, but you know, the opportunity to come in and just like tip everything that they've tried to do by sweeping it under the rug, like on its head. And it kind of removes some of their responsibility if they just don't talk about what happened.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think the thing that should happen, so the WWE, when they do their Hall of Fame, they've got a section that is called the Warrior section, and it's for people who are non-wrestlers. They inducted a little boy who was a wrestling fan who died of cancer. And they've inducted lots of people like that. I would argue if anyone needs to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, it's Daniel and Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the actual true I mean, like, they're the true victims.
And if anyone needs to be recognized from what happened, it is them, not Chris. Yeah. No one else, just them, because they done nothing wrong.
No, especially, I mean, like, his son was 7 years old. Like, no, you took an innocent life away. And regardless, this is my problem with it, is that even in the fucking documentary, and Chris Jericho was talking and other famous wrestlers that he was friends with, they knew that something was not right with him. When Eddie died, when his best friend died, they should have went and got him medical. He should have went and been treated. He should have quit wrestling.
Yeah. Because
again, the one thing he loved was the one thing that actually killed him. Like in turn, because I think that's what happened. And, you know, he didn't get any help. I firmly don't feel like anyone really helped him. I don't know how him and Nancy's relationship was. You know, they said it was a little bit volatile at times. And part of that could be because of the CTE, right? Because he's irrational and I don't know if there's any domestic, I would say like abuse and stuff. I know I heard that they fought loudly and verbally fought, but I don't know, man. It's just, you need to pay honor to the people. Nancy and Daniel did not deserve this under any circumstances, regardless of Chris and his disease, illness. They did not deserve to die. It's absolutely asinine.
No, they
and
didn't.
It's tough because, like, it's hard to say, you know, that saying, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like, if he didn't want to get help, I mean, who's to say that, you know, it would have done any good? But then he had reached out to the guy that was a retired wrestler about his concussions.
Yeah, the doctor that researched the CTE. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it kind of makes you wonder if he was going to be in the process of, like, recognizing what was going on and trying to get himself help, or if he just had a moment where he was like, you know what, let me just talk to him about this, and then just decided to ignore everything.
Yeah.
As much as he was a great wrestler, I don't think he should be getting any kind of recognition. I genuinely don't. I think.
I don't either.
Everything he done in the ring will always be overshadowed by what he done at that weekend, and there's nothing you can do to take away from that. Moving into something a little bit lighter, because it's quite heavy and horrible, this case. Some media. So if you want to know more about Chris Benoit, there are a couple of places that I want to point you. The first place is where I pointed Heather and Tasha, and that is the Dark Side of the Ring. That documentary is exceptional.
Yes, it was very, very good. It was very informative, and actually I was able to get so much information. So I don't really have to I still did my research, but it's it gives you a lot of details on stuff. So if you're curious, check it out. I watched it on Tubi. I think it was Tubi. Mm-hmm. So that's free, free thing.
Here in the UK, it's on all four, again, free. So it's available, readily available.
You guys don't have Tubi yet?
No, we're still not at Tubi.
Oh, man.
So Tubi Tubi hate us in the UK. Where are you, Tubi?
You would die if you had Tubi. They have some of the fucking most ridiculous horror films on there that you would. Okay,
it's a gold mine.
It's trash. Not they don't have this really good quality film called Halloween H4. It's not on there, but I can't believe it's not. Love you, Scott.
The other place I would point you to go to is Chris Jericho's podcast. That man says what he wants and says it as it is, and he doesn't pull his punches. And my God, as a wrestler, I admire him. I've watched a lot of his matches. I watched a lot of old wrestling matches, and Chris Jericho's an incredible wrestler. But his podcast, he has transcended the wrestling business into something where he says it as it is. He talks about all kinds of things that happen backstage. He talks about his life and about injuries. And when he talks about Chris Benoit, he talks about him with such love, but also says it as it is. And I admire him for that.
He did it in the documentary. I don't think he sugarcoated anything. He never made it seem like just because he admired Chris, it wasn't okay, that's excusable. No, he was very forefront, he did something horrible. And that takes, a lot of people might not admit that.
Yeah. The episode that he did with Nancy's sister and her appearance on the Dark Side of the Ring, I have mad respect. Excuse me. I have mad respect for that woman. I feel like she handled everything so gracefully, and how she talked about how, she was told that the kids wanted nothing to do with her and that kind of thing. And she wouldn't, she wasn't trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that. And that she still kind of embraces David as her family and everything else. She's a badass. I think she is a crazy being.
I think she has to be strong enough to be able to deal with that, because even though David is her nephew, it would be hard to face him knowing that his father was the one that killed her sister. So that's conflicting, and you have to be a strong person to still be able to show love and compassion for someone else. And it's not David's fault, He didn't do anything. One thing that they never touched on, unless you guys can tell me, is Megan, the daughter. I don't think I ever heard anything about her.
No. I didn't hear any references.
Maybe she stayed out of the spotlight, so to speak.
Yeah, she has. So's Chris's first wife as well. Been very. They're not interested.
Okay.
They don't want part. They don't want part of this world.
That's probably for the best, because some people, I can understand that. I don't want to get involved in all this fucked up shit.
Yeah, and the final place I'm going to point people to go, and this is probably more aimed at wrestling fans, but I will aim it at the general audience as well. Go to Google. Google Chris Benoit's top 5 matches, and just watch what this guy could do in the ring. set aside everything that he done and watch him as a performer and an athlete. And if you watch wrestling now and you didn't watch it then, go and watch this guy and compare him to what you've got now. He was a phenomenal star. He captivated the audience. He held the audience in the palm of his hands with his promos. He's brilliant on the mic, incredibly gifted technical wrestler, incredibly gifted extreme wrestler, and probably arguably one of the most gifted showmen in the history of wrestling. So that would be the last place I would point you to. Go and have a look at what this man done outside of his crimes, because although the crimes will always define him, I think you need to see what he done in the ring to fully understand him, to see what drove him, what made him the man he was what he done in the ring. Regardless of that caused him to do the horrible things he done, that guided his life, his entire life from the age of 12 right up until he committed those crimes. And I think to get a true grip of him, you need to see what he done in the ring. I would recommend anyone to watch him wrestle.
Yeah.
And
I would check it out just to be curious, because all we saw was small clips in the documentary. So, of course, they didn't show a whole lot. But, you could tell that it was his life. When someone has a passion that deep, I hate to say it, but he was born for the destruction of what happened. Like, this was his life. Yeah. If you believe in fate and destiny, that's all on you, whatever you believe in. But I'm not necessarily saying that. But I think once he got into that wrestling world, that was it. That sealed his fate, so to speak.
Yeah.
There, wasn't much turning back from there.
No, I'd agree with that. I think we're kind of wrapped on extended cut. We've riled Heather to the point that she's ready to hurt someone.
I'm always ready to hurt somebody. So, anyways,
so next month, I thought these were going to be like some of the worst potential cases we've ever had. However, after this case, I'm actually looking forward to one of these. So we're looking at super killers. So these are people who had numerous victims. So we're looking at either Gary Ridgway, Clementine Barbadette, Mr. Ted Bundy, who I know Heather would be very excited to get.
I know way too much anyways.
or finally, John Wayne Gacy.
I know way too much about him too. It's not okay.
and next month, we're going to be joined by my co-host of Horror Movie Review. Mark is going to take a step into true crime, and it will be the first time on true crime where it'll be the first time I've had since you've become co-hosts, both of you on together. It's going to take.
You're my boy, Mark. You're my boy, Blue.
So much editing.
He's still going to get a quiz, right?
Yeah.
I cannot wait. Okay, but this quiz, he can. Mark, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Shut up. Don't complain about it. This quiz, he'll be fine, because this is more of a just like, this is an easy, I'm going to say it's an easy quiz, but it is a lot more forgiving. Scott's other quiz can kiss my ass, actually. It's hard. And I understand why Mark gets mad, because like that one is hard. But this is a fun, like, just pay attention, do your research. You pretty much got it. There you go. I'm excited. Yeah.
And Tasha, you get to hear Tasha again, because she's going to join me and Mark over on Horror Movie Review, and we're going to look at Wreck.
Heck yeah!
We're going to
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that movie.
Oh yeah, definitely worth a watch. You'll like that, Heather.
Okay.
But yeah, so Tasha's going to find out how hard that quiz is, because she's going to take that on as well.
Oh, Tasha, you might You might not follow him anymore. I'm scared. I'm scared for when I get to it myself. I'm fucking terrified, because I'm like, you can't study for it. That's the problem. Like, it doesn't matter how much you think you know. When he asks you the question, you're like, I'm so stupid. That's how you feel. Like, I swear. It's so hard. It's going to be so hard. I'm excited.
I have Tasha, to at least get one, because I have to be tied with Angel's Rotten Tail.
No, you'll get one.
So when Angel was on, you provided some questions. I'm gonna I'm going to throw something to Angel and give her the option to get a bit of revenge and put some of the questions in for you as well.
Uh-oh.
Because I think that's only fair.
Oh, goodness.
Tasha, thank you so much for coming on, not just for
absolutely
the main episode, but extended cut. You've given up a huge chunk of your day to be with us.
It was nice to find, like, I've been, I just drove 12 hours back from New York and stuff. So I was just listening to podcasts and stuff like the whole time. So I've been like dying for the chance to talk about this finally. So
yeah, it's because you were booked
nice to finally get it out.
Yeah, well, you were booked ages ago. So we knew this was happening almost a month ago. And it's been like a month wait. And this episode, I'd say probably for all of us has been the most research any of us have done. Because I know, especially for me, I know dick about wrestling. I knew even less about this case. And
then I didn't know anything.
No. And then when I started investigating, I was like, I don't want to know anything about this case. I hate this case.
Oh, can I say I did know one thing about wrestling? Like, I did know that Hulk Hogan had a sex tape. I don't know why. I haven't seen it.
Are you on like some sort of promo team for Hulk Hogan where you're pushing his sex tape and getting money on the back of it?
Yeah, brother.
There's a plot twist.
No, I'm not. His hair is stupid. Have you ever seen his hair?
Do you want to know the worst thing about his sex tape? So I know a little bit about his. I've not seen it, but I do know that it's with his wife, who is now his wife. It wasn't at the time, I think is now, but it's one of his daughter's friends who is 33 years younger than him.
I think her name is Heather too, which just is like, I can't help that. I ain't do it. Yeah, brother. I didn't have sex with Hulk Hogan. I promise.
Nightmares now.
I'm gonna have to find it now, and I'm gonna be so disappointed if he doesn't say, I tell you something, brother, check out my big python.
Yeah, brother, suck on my cock. Anyways, that's enough. I have to go wash my mouth out with soap. Oh my God. I can't believe I said the CMCK word. I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry. Sorry.
Heather, I think it's a good place, Heather, for you to sign us off before you get us cancelled.
Whatever, Scott, you love me. Okay, guys, look, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Extended Cut. We have talked enough, okay? So we're about to fucking end the shit because this is what Extended Cut is all about. We tired, but we love you guys. Stay safe. And of course, always stay spooky. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the You Run podcast. Don't forget, you can get involved in the show in so many ways. All you need to do is head over to yourunpodcast.com.
Yeah, you don't want it to sound like you're literally reading from a script.
Shit, sorry, Heather. That's right, this is your show. It's fun. It's different. It's like nothing else out there. This is your true crime.
This motherfucker.